Okay, now what we're going to do now here is let's talk about another sale we've got coming up here next month. So every Georgia is like Texas in that they hold sales almost every single month. And I'm not sure if the sale we're looking at here in Georgia, is this one of their normal sales on the first Tuesday, or is this one of their a separate sale?
No, this is the first Tuesday. In fact, we're going to get into here a little bit how Georgia works, because most of you guys are under the impression that it's a 12-month redemption period, and that's still the case for a lot of different types of properties. But they have a non-judicial and a judicial tax sale now. And I guess they've had this for a while, but counties, we'd only see it occasionally, like we'd see it once in a while. And so we weren't, we kind of thought it was maybe a resale. But what they're doing is with the judicial tax deeds, they have a 60-day redemption period. And in fact, there's some things we'll talk about here in a minute. They go into it a little bit more, but we classify Georgia as a redemption deed state. In either case, you're not going to get full ownership until after that redemption period is expired.
What's kind of interesting, it seems like it's almost backwards. So the non-judicial sales have the 1 year, and you're saying the judicial sales only have a 60-day.
Yeah.
The more valuable properties, that's kind of interesting, because I would assume that the homes and more valuable properties tend to go through judicial sales instead, so the homes would have a 60-day redemption period instead.
Yeah, well, anything that goes through judicial sales. Some counties, and I was researching, so we knew for tonight for sure, some counties will do them both. Some counties only do non-judicial sales. So the non-judicial sale has a 12-month redemption period. At the end of the 12-month redemption period, you need to extinguish the right to redeem, which essentially is kind of like a little bit of a mini foreclosure process, so that they can't redeem, and then you'll have full ownership. With the judicial sales, they're essentially selling it after 60 days. And I don't know if this is true, but this is just what they had on their tax commissioner website. You can see down there on the bottom left-hand side, it says title will vest absolutely into the purchaser after the right of redemption. That's going to be the 60 days, eliminating the need for post-sale barment procedures and quiet title action.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it eliminates the need for a quiet title action, huh?
That's what it's saying. Now, I'm not going to say that that's true. I mean, that's what they're saying. Maybe you can go ahead and get a warranty deed without needing to go through quiet title if it's gone through this judicial foreclosure. So, we're just providing you the information. This isn't legal advice. I'm just telling you what they say on their website. But here on the right-hand side, that's where you can see the judicial sales and the non-judicial sales. So most of the counties, most of the way we think of it is a non-judicial sale, that 12-month redemption period. But there's more counties that are doing these judicial sales. There's counties that only do judicial sales. There's counties that only do non-judicial sales, and there's counties that do a combination of both.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. They talk a little bit about redemption in that part. There at the bottom, the law gives the former property owner one last chance to redeem the property through the redemption process. After the tax sale, the delinquent owner has 60 days from the date of the tax sale to pay the registry of Henry County Superior Court the redemption amount, which is the minimum bid. Their successful bidder would then be refunded their purchase price, and the foreclosure action is dismissed. But if they fail to redeem the property within the required 60 days, then within 90 days of the date of the sale, the title to the property passes to the purchaser by deed issued by the tax commissioner.
Yeah, so here in Henry County, they only do the judicial foreclosures. So it's going to depend on the county, but I thought that was kind of interesting. We actually have a lot of students from Georgia, and so there's some good opportunity there. There's tons of auctions taking place within your area. In fact, one thing that we talk to our coaching students about is called the proximity zone, and that's picking an area. Maybe it's an area that you live. Really works well in areas that you live, and then you look at all of the surrounding counties that you can get to within a few-hour drive, and you try to participate in all of those different auctions that are taking place, both through the tax sale but also using a pre-foreclosure strategy. And that's something you could really do here in Georgia, in Texas, and any of these states that have multiple auctions each year.
All right, let's go and check out. So yeah, in fact, the county we're going to go and check out here in Georgia, the pre-sale is for Del Cabo. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly or not here. Let's just,
I should have looked it up before I did it. I can never say anything. The Cobb, I don't know.
yeah.
You know,
Now,
click on that Fulton County list as well, just before we get started into the auction. That'll give you an idea of what a county looks like that has both. Now, DeKalb has straight 12-month redemption period. So it's going to be, you know, what we expect. But here you can see the properties that went through the judicial foreclosure. And then there are these houses down here. And then above that is the non-judicial. So we're looking at either 12 months or 6 months.
yeah, and obviously you can see here that most of the non-judicials don't have full addresses. You know, it makes sense that these are mostly pieces of land, maybe not even buildable pieces, a lot of these. And then we have all complete addresses here for what appear to be homes and apartments or condos.
Yeah. So that's what the auction looks like. Now with the Cobb, what we're going to be looking at is really, you know, one that has the 12-month redemption period that's more standard.
Yeah, now, one thing that is interesting about this, so it's a big list for one. In fact, I'm not even sure how many properties total are on it. Let me look here, because these are all just for,
I wasn't sure. I guessed between 150 or more, but I didn't get a chance to count them all. I think it's definitely over 100.
yeah, that's interesting. Well, let's look at a few of the properties here, because these properties are a mix. You know, they're kind of interesting. In looking at them, some of them are nice single-family homes. Some of them are vacant lots. You know, vacant building lots in various places. You know, we really don't know until we take a look at it, but we can see, you know, the total taxes owed on each one. So let's see here. Let's take a look here.
Well, there's actually 210. I
Wow.
download the tax sale list there. In fact, if we were bidding at this auction, or if we were taking our students out there to bid at this type of an auction, we'd actually download that list and create our own Google Sheets doc that would have links back to the addresses, to the, you know, and it would add additional things on there as well. So the first property, I think we're going to look at that Sleepy Fawn.
That's kind of a weird address. Let's see. All right, let's see where this goes here. And the amount here, so it's $12,733. I don't want Eagle. What is it? There we go.
Yeah.
Sleeping Fawn Knolls here in Decatur.
Yeah, you're going to have to take out the A, and then you'll have to add in the A when you look it up on Redfin. So it looked to me, you know, to be some type of twin home type property. So now what we're going to do is pull up Redfin, and you can see it's valued about 76. So, you know, there's profit within there. The property may redeem. If it does redeem, you'll get 20 cents on the dollar. You know, this isn't a property we'd go crazy for, valued about 80 grand from kind of the comps I could see. There's one that was kind of close to it as well, where it was about a little bit lower, between 70 to 90 grand. But if you could pick it up for 15 grand, you know, it could definitely be worth picking it up, you know, and either acquiring the property or getting that good interest rate return on it.
Yeah, there are properties on this list where the numbers are probably better. You know, quite a bit better. I mean, there are some properties on this list where the numbers are actually pretty good,
Yeah, in fact,
starting at 10% of value or so, roughly.
yeah, you know, I just looked at the first couple, and then I know that you were looking at some as well, but I'm sure there's some really nice properties on this list as you get more into it.
Yeah, this one right down below it for 13,000 is in the same place. Probably a very similar value here on properties, because it's really not very far. Yeah, located at 67. So both of those are actually really similar properties. Now, let me show you here in some of the cases here. So let me go down here a little bit and let's show. So some of the properties, for example, 1921 here, White House. So this property is $6,287 is what it opens up at. Pull it up here. All right, there we go. And so we can see here is the property location. There is the address here. Let's go down to the street image. So this is February 2025. So it's about a year old image. We can see these are all of these. I don't know if they're like kind of a duplex.
Yeah.
Or if they're individual apartments, but in any case here, you know, we can see the area here, the neighborhood. Boy, look at that. That is a house that is just abandoned there that probably
Is
is
that
worth a
it?
lot of money. No, it's this house. No, it's this place right here. You know, there's 1921. It's actually this
Oh,
one right
yeah.
here. And let's pull up. Now it seems like, yeah, all right, so we've got Zillow pulls it up there at 105. And I think Redfin pulls it up too.
You know, really, that is a pretty big list.
It's, yeah,
210 properties. I mean, for a Georgia list, that's I mean, we're talking about Atlanta, but still.
yeah, it is a big list. So here's the same property here. You know, they've got it valued at about 154, and we could look and see which, you know, which comps they're using here, which looks interesting. They do look like they're all, you know, in the same general neighborhood here area. Looking at it as a condo though, built in 72. So at $6,000 though, you're in a really safe position to buy it or to, you know, bid on it. You could obviously pay more than that on the property here. All of those are going to be a great deal, especially if it redeems. You just end up getting a good percentage on your money. But the goal here, at least, is that uh, some of these properties will result in foreclosure. But different from regular deeds, investors tend to pay a little bit less when there is going to be a time period attached to it. So it drives the prices down a little bit, means that we can get better deals. So like this one starting at 6,000, you know, this one could bid up quite a bit and still be a very safe investment. I mean, even at $15,000 or $20,000, this would be a pretty safe investment.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about pre-foreclosure strategy, but if we had the purchase the deed against the property, you know, we might reach out to the property owner and see if we could work out a deal. We could do nothing and let them go ahead and try to figure it out on their own. But if there is an opportunity to buy it, you know, even though you would be paying them off, which in turn would be paying yourself your 20% return, but it may make sense to be able to buy it that way, where you have a warranty deed on the property. You know, let's say that you pay, it's worth 150 and you pay 30 grand for it, and you contact them and you guys are able to work out a deal for 50 grand. Well, if it's worth 150 grand, you know, and you bought it for 50 grand and gave her $10,000 or him 10,000 or $15,000 to move into the next place, and you're able to acquire the property with a warranty deed, then that's going to make a lot of sense. And for these areas where it's going through a judicial sale and there's only a 60-day redemption period, that's also going to increase the chance that you're going to get that property or you're going to get that interest rate return.
Yeah, I think they do tend to work out really well. And this list is interesting in all the different properties there. You know, sometimes you have properties that are, you know, vacant land. It's hard to tell where some of them are. Maybe you have some lots that are not valued very high. And then you have properties that are valued great and the numbers look pretty good. Like this one, the opening bid on this one's only $3,300, I think, $3,700, but it's a pretty low amount for you know, for a house. The image is from February of 2025, and so looking at it, the house looks like it's in good shape. It's a great neighborhood. I really like everything about that that I see. And so what we can do is let's just pull it up real quick. Now the bid amount is so low for this one that I think it has an increased chance of redeeming, because obviously it's easier to come up with $3,700 than it is if it was a much larger amount. But $3,700 may be manageable. But the value of it there at 140,000, and 186,000 here. It starts at a very low percentage of value. I mean, it's starting at about 2% of value is basically what it's bidding for, and that just means there's a lot of room to bid that up and a lot of room, to move on a property like this. And whether it redeems or not, you're going to make a good interest rate return, or you're going to get a chance to acquire the property in a pretty short period of time.
Yeah, Shade, why don't you click on that link with the county records search, and let's look up this property in the county records quick, just to kind of show them how it looks there in Georgia and give them an idea of what the county records say on this property.
Yeah, let's see. So let's go back here. Let's scroll back up here. There we go.
Sorry.
Parcel ID is the first one. Okay, so.
I looked them up earlier. Now I couldn't remember.
There we go. All right, so we've got our property right here. And single family residential here.
Let's see if it's owner occupied.
No, but yeah, yes, it is. It is
Yeah.
owner occupied. Let's see the value history here on it. So we can see, yeah, total value on it going back. Really, the last 6 years are where the property's really jumped up.
Look at that though. In 2024, they took it from 212 down to 197. And you can see over on the left-hand side, all of the additional information, the appraisal history, appraisal by year, current values, detached improvements, land, map. They even have a thing for photos, permits. We'll look into the permit history because that may tell us when the last time they maybe got a roof permit. Some of the properties had photos on them. Oh, that's the permits. Look at the photos.
Yeah, they do have some photos here of it from different years. That they've got photos from 2016 and 2022. Oh, we've got the sales history here on. Let's see. In 2007, it looks like it sold.
Yeah, with an administrative deed.
That's kind of interesting. I guess it was
Well,
had a warranty deed in 74. But yeah.
I think it very well could be given to a family member.
Oh yeah.
Or you can see it's the estate type thing.
Yeah.
I would bet that it's probably got somewhat of a clear title. We may have to research two names, in determining it. But in a property like this, the chances of you actually getting it are probably pretty low because the opening bid is so low. If the opening bid was 30 grand, well, then, that's going to be more difficult than 3 grand. And so when we're looking at different properties, that can, all of that information can tell us more about what's going to happen, or at least more likely what's going to happen. If this was at 3 grand, it's probably going to get paid off. If it's at 30 grand, we've got a better chance of acquiring the property.
Yeah, very interesting. And it is a big sale, which also means that there are a lot of properties here that are going to slip through the cracks.
Yeah,
and it just may not get, such aggressive bidding.
Before we flip over, I was wondering if we might go back and look at the auction that took place yesterday, just to look at a couple of those judicial properties, so that we can kind of show, okay, these are the properties where they had a 60 redemption day period, and you're not going to have to, foreclose on their right to redeem. Was that? But maybe we could look at one or two of those down there at the bottom. Because we were looking at them yesterday, and it looked like there were some pretty nice properties. Thought it might be kind of cool to show one or two of them.
Oh yeah, we can't copy the numbers. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
That's right. Let's see, 21 Jefferson Hill Place. Whoa, what was that? There we go. And all right, here we go. So we can see that this one is actually in some type of a condo. I don't know if we actually have a street side image here of it. I don't think we do.
It doesn't look like it. Well, and something like this, the one thing about a condo is we eliminate at least some of our big concerns, being roof and foundation and, you know, the outside. When it comes to the condo, the inside's pretty much all of it. In
Yeah.
fact, I was looking at one property in Virginia today, and I should have included it, but it had like, I couldn't tell if somebody put something up there. There was like all of these photos of like spiders within the place, and like, you know, like
Like a
comments about
like a disgruntled
almost like it was a
resident or
squat,
something.
almost like it was a squat, like the owner's putting up something to the squatter or something. I don't know what it was. You know, I shouldn't even have brought it up, but it was just, I'd never seen it. I don't know how they got that on Zillow, you know, all of this personal stuff, and it was very weird listing.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, yeah, this property has a lot of value there at 340, and oh, I guess we can't see what the opening bid amount here is on it, but certainly the value is high enough there that you know, if the opening bid is 30,000, we're still looking at 10%, and so the numbers would work out pretty well on any of these, I think.
Yeah, well, and we could figure out what the opening bid is if we had the time. We would just go look at the tax information. So then we can see all of the delinquent taxes. That's going to give us a pretty good idea of what that opening bid amount is. But, you know, here's another example of a really nice, beautiful home that, you know, ended up selling yesterday in the tax sale auction.
Oh, weird, this thing's crashing. All right, let's try this again. No, hold on, let's reload it here.
Oh, you can at least see it
Oh,
from
there we
there.
go. Yeah, we can see it now. So yeah, a very valuable house here. And this one, yeah, this is one right here. Let's just pull up and see real quickly what we think the value on it is. And 562,000. It's a 4,100 square foot house. Let's see here. Yeah, 521 on this one. So really, it's you know, very valuable property. You know, worth about 500,000 plus.
Yeah, it's a big home.
Yeah, built in 2006. It's a pretty new home too. You know, so this one would be a great property to go after. It looks different.
Yeah, I think it's just the color.
Yeah, it is just the coloring on it. I think it makes it look slightly different here. But yeah, we just looked at the first two of those, and you know, I think the majority of all these properties here, the judicial foreclosure ones, are pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah. So it's something to look at. You know, there's these ones that only have the 60-day redemption period. You know, we looked at that information in Georgia that talked about that, you know, you may not need quiet title. We're going to need to talk to an attorney to figure out that for sure. But even if the process is a whole lot easier, you know, that's definitely going to be worth it for us.